Sergeant Maya stepped off the transport truck, her boots crunching against the gravel of Fort Redwood's main training grounds. The cold morning air stung her cheeks, but she didn't flinch. Her uniform was immaculate, her posture straight, every movement precise, a subtle display of the discipline that had carried her through years of grueling missions. Around her, soldiers milled about, chatting, laughing, and sizing one another up. Yet when their eyes fell on her, a wave of quiet judgment passed through the crowd. Whispers followed her like shadows. She doesn't belong here. They let anyone through these days. I heard she barely made it in the last drill. Maya ignored the comments. She didn't need validation, only a chance. She had endured scrutiny before, in every base and mission she had served. The world was quick to doubt, quicker to mock, but she had learned a secret long ago. Skill, preparation, and focus are louder than words, louder than laughter, louder than doubt. She reminded herself of that silently, feeling the familiar calm settling over her like armor. The commander of the base, Brigadier General Briggs, was already observing from a balcony overlooking the grounds. A grizzled officer, decades in service, Briggs was known for his sharp tongue and no-nonsense attitude. Rumor had it, he enjoyed breaking soldiers down publicly, exposing any perceived weakness to remind everyone of the chain of command. As Maya walked toward the main formation area, she caught sight of his piercing gaze. It was the look that could unnerve even the most seasoned soldiers, a mixture of skepticism, challenge, and barely contained disdain. He called out, his voice cutting across the chatter like a whip. She halted instantly and came to attention, her body rigid yet her mind calm. "You're late," he barked. The words were harsh, but it wasn't entirely true. She had arrived on schedule. Yet he relished the opportunity to put her in her place. "No, sir," she responded evenly. Her voice didn't waver, it carried clarity and authority, the kind that commanded attention without shouting. The other soldiers exchanged looks, some impressed, some skeptical. They had been primed to see her fail, to hear her stumble. Briggs, however, only raised an eyebrow, clearly unsatisfied with her composed response. "You're here for the elite joint forces drill," he continued, circling her like a hawk sizing up its prey. "You'll be competing against the best we have. Don't embarrass yourself or me." Laughter rippled quietly through the group of assembled soldiers, though none dared speak out. Maya's lips pressed into a thin line. Every word was a challenge, a subtle jab at her capabilities. She felt it, acknowledged it, and tucked it away. It was fuel. The base itself was a sprawling labyrinth of barracks, training fields, obstacle courses, and simulated urban warfare zones. Maya had seen facilities like this before, but nothing could diminish the pressure that came with being singled out in front of seasoned soldiers. Every mission she had completed, every drill she had dominated, had led her to this moment. She knew she could perform, but now she had to prove it in the eyes of an audience who had already judged her before she had moved a muscle. As she marched toward her assigned quarters, flashbacks stirred in her mind. She remembered Afghanistan, where a surprise ambush had trapped her unit in a narrow canyon. While others panicked, she stayed calm, directing cover fire, coordinating evacuation points, and ensuring every soldier made it out. Yet back at headquarters, some credited the mission's success to luck, to fortunate timing, rather than her strategic thinking. She remembered the whispering voices. "She's lucky, not skilled." That sting had never left her. She had learned to turn doubt into focus, criticism into precision. And now, at Fort Redwood, she would turn mockery into victory. Even as she unpacked in her room, a small, Spartan space with only the essentials, her mind reviewed every possible scenario she might face. The elite drill was known for pushing soldiers beyond their physical and mental limits. It wasn't just a test of strength or speed. It was a test of strategy, adaptability, and the ability to anticipate dangers before they happened. Maya had trained her mind as rigorously as her body. Each obstacle, each tactical maneuver had been visualized, practiced in miniature, analyzed for weaknesses, and refined. By mid-morning, the soldiers were summoned to the main briefing area. Maya fell into formation, scanning the crowd. Whispers still floated through the ranks. A few soldiers openly rolled their eyes, others exchanged smirks, quietly wagering on how long she would last. Maya ignored it all. Her eyes were fixed on Briggs, who stood at the front with arms crossed, a smirk tugging at the corners of his mouth. He enjoyed this performance. The anticipation, the public doubt, the expectation of failure. "Sergeant," he called out, voice loud enough for everyone to hear, "do you even know what you're up against?" Laughter rippled through the soldiers. Some nudged each other, mockingly whispering, "She'll be out in 2 minutes." Maya met his gaze without flinching. "Sir," she replied evenly, "I'm prepared for the drill. I'll complete it to standard." Her calm confidence drew murmurs from the crowd. Some soldiers tilted their heads, questioning if they had misjudged her. Briggs's eyes narrowed, perhaps realizing he had underestimated the weight behind her calm demeanor. Briefing continued. Details of the drill were laid out. A brutal obstacle course combined with a live-fire urban simulation, designed to test every skill a soldier could possess. Maya listened intently, committing each nuance to memory, her mind already calculating paths, evaluating risks, and anticipating challenges. While the other soldiers whispered, flexed, or cracked jokes to hide nerves, Maya remained silent, absorbing every detail. She didn't need to impress anyone with chatter or bravado. Her preparation would speak for her. After the briefing, soldiers were given a short time to warm up and assess the course. Maya jogged lightly, stretching her muscles, her mind simultaneously running through mental simulations. She analyzed angles, obstacles, and potential strategies, noting where others might falter. Around her, soldiers rushed, showing off, trying to psych themselves up. Some stumbled, some tripped, and a few even fell over minor hurdles. Maya observed quietly, noting weaknesses she could exploit, not for arrogance, but for efficiency, precision, and strategy. The moment approached. The base seemed to hold its breath as Briggs stepped forward, his presence commanding silence. Maya stood at the starting line, heart steady, mind focused, muscles primed. The weight of doubt, ridicule, and expectation pressed down, but instead of cracking, it sharpened her resolve. Every second of mockery, every whispered insult had become fuel. As the signal to begin the drill loomed, Maya inhaled deeply. She had arrived at Fort Redwood not to prove the naysayers wrong alone, but to prove to herself that preparation, strategy, and calm determination could outmatch arrogance, laughter, and doubt. The crowd held its collective breath. For Briggs, it was a moment of anticipated triumph over a soldier he had dismissed. For Maya, it was the first step toward showing the world, no, showing herself, that skill cannot be underestimated, mockery cannot break you, and excellence always speaks louder than words. The seconds ticked down, the tension thickened, and Maya's gaze remained steady. Whatever came next, she was ready. The elite drill at Fort Redwood was about to begin, and she would step into it with the precision of a soldier who had long ago mastered the art of turning doubt into dominance. The morning sun had barely warmed the grounds of Fort Redwood when Sergeant Maya sat alone on the edge of the obstacle course, tying the laces of her combat boots with meticulous care. The world around her buzzed with activity. Soldiers ran drills, shouted instructions, and tested their gear. Yet Maya's focus remained inward, lost in memories that had shaped her into the soldier she had become. The drill she was about to face wasn't just a test of skill. It was a confrontation with every doubt, every insult, and every challenge she had faced throughout her career. She thought back to her first deployment overseas. Afghanistan, a land of dust, heat, and constant danger. Maya had been a young lieutenant then, filled with determination but questioned at every turn by seasoned soldiers who doubted her leadership abilities. Her calm approach had been criticized as indecisive, her analytical methods mocked as overthinking. Yet, during a sudden ambush in a narrow canyon, her careful planning and composure had saved her unit. While others panicked, she organized cover positions, calculated escape routes, and coordinated medevac support. By the time reinforcements arrived, every soldier under her command had survived. And yet back at headquarters, recognition was fleeting. Her commanding officer had offered polite congratulations, but whispers followed her like shadows. She got lucky. The ambush wasn't real danger. She's too cautious to be effective in combat. Maya had long ago learned the bitter truth. Excellence alone rarely silences the critics. She had learned to let her actions speak louder than any words. Her mind flicked forward to her second deployment in the deserts of Iraq, where a routine patrol turned into a tense urban combat scenario. A terrorist cell had set traps along the narrow alleyways of the city, threatening civilian lives and her team's safety. While others charged forward impulsively, Maya had studied the terrain, predicted enemy positions, and led her squad through the streets with calculated precision. Each movement was measured, each step a decision that balanced risk and reward. By the end of the operation, the city streets were cleared, and her unit had sustained 0 casualties. Yet the rumor mill was relentless. She's only successful because she avoids real danger. Those memories weren't bitter for Maya, they were fuel. She remembered the sting of doubt, the quiet murmurs of ridicule, the feeling of being underestimated, and she transformed it into determination. Every time someone had mocked her, every sneer or rolled eye had strengthened her resolve. Today, at Fort Redwood, she would face the most critical judgment yet. It wasn't just her fellow soldiers who were watching. It was Brigadier General Briggs, a man notorious for exploiting weakness to humiliate soldiers publicly. Maya recalled the stories about Briggs, soldiers who had cracked under his scrutiny, promising recruits who left the base after weeks of relentless criticism, officers who had been forced to repeat drills for minor errors. He was a man who demanded obedience and excellence but often measured it with the wrong scale. Her colleagues had whispered warnings to her. "He'll tear you apart in front of everyone." But Maya's lips had pressed into a firm line. She knew his methods and she knew her strength. She stretched carefully, moving her muscles with precision, warming each joint, each tendon, each sinew for the demands of the day. Her mind ran scenarios: the obstacle course layout, the urban simulation, the likely positions of fellow soldiers, and potential missteps that could slow others down. While others relied on brute strength or speed alone, she relied on something deeper: observation, anticipation, and strategy. She visualized every move, calculating paths, identifying hazards, and mentally rehearsing the sequences of her maneuvers. Maya's past missions had taught her one unshakable truth: chaos was temporary, but preparation was eternal. When others panicked, she thrived. When others faltered, she adapted. And when others doubted, she performed. Every mocked skill, every whispered insult had prepared her for this moment. Fort Redwood wasn't just another base, another drill, another chance. It was the culmination of her career's lessons, a stage large enough to prove that skill transcends mockery. The faint sound of boots against gravel drew her attention. Other soldiers were beginning to gather, jogging past her, their energy a mixture of bravado and anxiety. Some were veterans, some rookies, all eager to make a mark. They carried the same overconfidence she had encountered in her early career, the same underestimation that had allowed her to excel when it mattered most. Maya observed silently, noting strengths, weaknesses, and patterns in movement. Her mind cataloged every detail, mentally constructing a map of advantage. Memories of past criticism surfaced again. In one particularly haunting encounter, her commanding officer had remarked, "You'll never make it in real combat if you can't keep up with men twice your size." At the time, she had felt the sting, the weight of expectation, and the unfairness of prejudice. But instead of breaking, she had responded in her own way, training harder, learning faster, and mastering skills others overlooked. Today, her size, her calm demeanor, her analytical mind would no longer be questioned. They would be her weapons. She glanced at the central training field where the obstacle course loomed. Towers of walls, ropes dangling like serpents, simulated urban structures, and tactical hazards created a landscape designed to test every skill, every reflex, every decision. Others would run headfirst into it, relying on adrenaline and muscle. Maya, however, would treat it as a chessboard, each movement deliberate, each calculation precise. Her past missions had prepared her for unpredictable dangers, and today's challenge would be no different. The sound of Briggs' voice interrupted her thoughts, carrying across the field with an edge of mockery. "Sergeant, are you ready to show us what skill looks like, or should I assign someone competent?" The soldiers nearby laughed, some nudging each other, whispering bets on how quickly she would falter. Maya's jaw tightened slightly, but her eyes remained calm. Inside, a fire burned brighter than any insult. She inhaled deeply, letting the cool air steady her pulse. She had faced mockery before, and she had risen every time. This would be no different. As the briefing began, Maya's focus sharpened further. The rules, objectives, and hazards of the drill were outlined. Others listened, some making notes, some joking quietly, but Maya absorbed every detail, storing it in memory. Each segment of the course presented opportunities to exploit, to strategize, to dominate. Her past experiences had taught her to anticipate challenges, to think steps ahead, and to see possibilities that others overlooked in haste or fear. She was ready. She remembered the countless hours of training that had brought her to this point. Early mornings, late nights, relentless repetitions, and mental simulations. Each obstacle in past drills, each scenario of combat, each misstep she had corrected through practice had led to this moment. It wasn't luck, and it wasn't chance. It was preparation, focus, and skill honed over years. Maya was ready to turn the whispers of doubt into recognition of mastery. As the soldiers lined up for the start of the drill, Maya positioned herself at the edge of the formation, calm and steady. Eyes glanced her way, measuring her, expecting failure. Briggs' smirk was still there, confident, smug, certain that her reputation would crumble under pressure. But Maya had learned a critical lesson from her past. Let them doubt, let them mock, let them laugh. The moment they least expected it, she would demonstrate the truth she had carried for years. The truth that preparation, intelligence, and composure can outmatch arrogance and mockery every single time. The countdown began. Maya inhaled slowly, muscles primed, mind focused, heartbeat steady. Every memory, every lesson, every shadow of the past had prepared her for this. Fort Redwood had never seen anything like her, and today the drill would be the first stage on which she would prove it. The sun had climbed higher over Fort Redwood, casting long shadows across the main briefing grounds. Soldiers gathered in tight ranks, their uniforms crisp, boots polished, eyes scanning each other warily. Sergeant Maya stood among them, her posture flawless, her hands clasped behind her back, her gaze forward. She felt the familiar weight of scrutiny, the quiet whispers of doubt, the judgment of men and women who had been conditioned to underestimate her. Brigadier General Briggs stepped onto the raised platform at the front, his presence commanding immediate silence. The crowd's attention snapped toward him like a predator sensing prey. His eyes scanned the assembled soldiers, resting on Maya with an intensity that could pierce steel. Briggs was a man who thrived on control and intimidation, known for exposing weakness with surgical precision. Today, he would do everything in his power to assert dominance, to humiliate anyone he deemed unworthy. He leaned forward slightly, voice cutting like a whip across the morning air. "Sergeant," he called, his tone dripping with sarcasm, "I hope you're prepared. This is not a classroom exercise. This is real skill, real danger. I trust you understand that your presence here is under observation." A ripple of laughter passed through the soldiers. Some nudged each other, exchanging smirks. "She won't last 2 minutes," one whispered. "Yeah, they should have left her in the office," another muttered. Briggs's words were deliberate, calculated to undermine her confidence in front of the assembled troops. His smirk widened as he continued. "You've been praised for your calm approach," he said, his tone laced with mockery. "But let's see if calm gets you past walls, ropes, and live fire simulations. Or do we need to prepare a stretcher?" The laughter grew, some soldiers openly chuckling, others hiding amusement behind stiff arms. Maya felt the sting of the mockery, but it wasn't unfamiliar. She had faced ridicule before, during deployments, in every drill, in every mission where others doubted her abilities simply because she didn't shout, punch, or charge first. She had learned that composure is a soldier's greatest weapon, and today would be no different. Maya lifted her chin slightly, meeting Briggs's gaze without a flicker of fear. "Sir," she said calmly, each word deliberate, measured, and strong, "I am prepared for the drill. I will complete it to standard." The murmurs among the soldiers shifted, a mixture of surprise and intrigue. Some glanced at each other, questioning their assumptions. Others simply smirked, unconvinced that calm words could translate into action. Briggs's eyes narrowed, the corner of his mouth twitching. He hadn't expected such composure. It didn't fit the narrative he had prepared for his audience. The young, underestimated soldier cracking under pressure. "Good," Briggs replied, masking the flicker of irritation in his voice. "We'll see if your preparedness is more than just talk." He turned to the rest of the soldiers, sweeping them with a sharp gaze. "This drill will test everything: strength, agility, decision-making under pressure. Every soldier here will compete. Every action will be observed. There is no room for error." As he spoke, Maya's eyes drifted subtly to the course beyond the briefing area. The obstacle towers, the rope lines, the simulated urban village, they all loomed like sentinels of challenge. Each section was a test, designed not just to measure physical ability but tactical intelligence. Briggs's mockery had set the stage, but Maya's mind already mapped the course, calculating movements, evaluating hazards, and identifying opportunities where others would falter. Briggs's voice carried over the field again, louder this time, sharpened with challenge. "Now, Sergeant, since we've had such a discussion about your capabilities, let's set expectations. You will start the drill at the same time as the other soldiers, and I expect you to prove your so-called skills. Remember, failure here isn't just personal, it's public." Gasps and murmurs moved through the crowd. Some soldiers straightened, others exchanged glances, realizing that Briggs's ridicule wasn't only about her. It was about demonstrating dominance over the formation. Maya felt the eyes of hundreds upon her, some skeptical, some curious. The tension was palpable, thick in the morning air, almost suffocating. She allowed herself one brief internal smile. She thrived in situations where expectation and doubt collided. Each insult, each whisper, each smirk had sharpened her like flint striking steel. Maya didn't need Briggs's approval. She didn't need the crowd's validation. What she needed was focus, and she had it in abundance. Every motion, every decision, every step she would take in the next few minutes had already been rehearsed in her mind countless times. Briggs leaned forward, voice low but audible, intended for her ears. "Remember, Sergeant, the world is watching. Don't embarrass yourself." Maya held his gaze for a brief second, unwavering, before turning her eyes toward the rest of the formation. She noticed the subtle changes among the other soldiers. Some were more alert, others tense, some uncertain how to react to her calm. She had always observed, always analyzed, always adjusted to the energy around her. This moment, however, wasn't about intimidation. It was about opportunity. The briefing concluded with instructions on start positions, checkpoints, and timing. Soldiers began moving toward the course, boots pounding the gravel. Maya walked with deliberate calm, her steps measured, every movement reflecting confidence rooted in preparation. The whispers continued, but she barely noticed them. Every soldier's glance, every chuckle, every doubtful murmur became background noise to the single, focused rhythm of her mind. As she approached the starting line, she noted her competitors. There were veterans, seasoned soldiers with years of field experience, confident and strong. Their overconfidence was evident, the kind that often led to mistakes. She smiled faintly inside. Preparation had always trumped bravado. Briggs stood on the platform, observing, smirk firmly in place, certain of the narrative he had constructed. She would fail, and he would be vindicated. Maya took a deep breath, letting the air fill her lungs, steadying her heartbeat, aligning body and mind. She could feel the pulse of the crowd, the electric tension in the morning air. But unlike many others, she did not feel anxiety. Instead, she felt readiness, clarity, and control. This was her moment, not for pride, not for revenge, but to demonstrate the undeniable power of preparation and composure. Briggs raised his hand. The signal to begin was near. Maya's eyes swept the course one final time, The wall climbs, rope swings, simulated tactical environments and hazards scattered throughout. She already knew the best paths, the quickest angles, the most efficient maneuvers. Where others would struggle, she would glide. Where others would hesitate, she would act. Where others would falter, she would excel. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2. Briggs's smirk widened, confident she would crumble under pressure. 1, the final moment of silence before the storm. And then the signal, the drill had begun. Maya stepped forward, calm, steady, ready. The whispers of doubt, the laughter of skeptics, and the mockery of the commander all became fuel. With every stride, every movement, she would turn expectation into astonishment. Today, Sergeant Maya would prove that skill is louder than words, that preparation triumphs over mockery, and that composure under scrutiny is the mark of true excellence. The shrill sound of the air horn cut through the crisp morning air of Fort Redwood, signaling the start of the elite drill. Soldiers surged forward, boots pounding gravel and concrete, a cacophony of adrenaline and determination. Some sprinted, chest heaving, muscles taut. Others hesitated at the first obstacles, unsure of timing, overthinking routes, or misjudging the terrain. Maya took her first step onto the course, her movements smooth, precise, and controlled. Every muscle, every joint, every reflex had been trained for this moment. She moved not with haste but with purpose, a predator calculating its path with ruthless efficiency. The first challenge loomed ahead, a towering wall with uneven grips and protrusions designed to test strength and agility. Other soldiers approached recklessly, grabbing and swinging, some slipping halfway and tumbling back to the ground, frustrated and panting. Maya analyzed the wall with a rapid mental scan, handholds, footholds, potential missteps, and then ascended. Her movements were fluid, almost effortless, a seamless choreography of power and precision. She reached the top with barely a sound and dropped down to the other side, already calculating the next obstacle. The rope lines stretched before her like serpents suspended in the air, a test of upper body strength and coordination. Some soldiers grunted with effort, swinging and catching the ropes with desperation, losing time and momentum. Maya's approach was different. She gauged the arc of each swing, adjusted her grip precisely, and propelled herself across with minimal effort. Every movement was calculated to conserve energy while maximizing speed. Her eyes flicked forward, noting the spacing of the ropes, the angle of landing, and the next series of obstacles awaiting her. A group of soldiers faltered behind her, exhausted, frustrated by miscalculations and poor judgment. Maya observed silently, noting every pattern. The drill was as much mental as it was physical. Anticipation, focus, and composure could shave seconds off performance and prevent mistakes that others would make under pressure. As she landed from the final rope swing, she noticed a simulated debris field ahead, a maze of broken walls, low barriers, and uneven surfaces meant to test coordination and strategic movement. While others hesitated, calculating routes mid-run, Maya had already visualized the optimal path in her mind. She darted forward, weaving between obstacles with precision, her steps deliberate yet swift. Every movement was efficient, no wasted motion, no hesitation. The other soldiers struggled to match her pace, some tripping, others colliding with walls or misjudging jumps. Her calm composure contrasted sharply with the chaos around her. The spectators, officers, fellow soldiers, and instructors watched in growing astonishment. Some had expected a spectacle of failure. Instead, they witnessed near perfection in motion. Maya approached the first live-fire simulation village, a series of small, interconnected buildings designed to test decision-making under stress. Doors opened to rooms scattered with hazards, simulated civilians, concealed targets, and timed traps that required precise navigation. Soldiers ahead of her hesitated, unsure how to proceed, some relying on brute force or instinct, fumbling with doors or with their teammates. Maya entered a building with methodical grace. She cleared rooms systematically, moving in silent sweeps, her movements measured and efficient. Her eyes scanned each environment, anticipating threats, mapping cover positions and identifying optimal paths. While others rushed impulsively, triggering alarms or misjudging distances, Maya maintained an almost eerie calm. She neutralized obstacles with calculated precision, each decision informed by training, experience, and analytical thinking. Ammunition was deployed sparingly and effectively. Movements were efficient, conserving energy and maximizing results. Officers monitoring the course via cameras whispered in astonishment. Some could hardly believe what they were seeing. At one point, a simulated trap, an unexpected obstacle designed to catch participants off guard, appeared. A low ceiling blocked one exit, and a narrow passage forced soldiers to crouch and maneuver carefully. Many stumbled, slowed, or hesitated entirely. Maya approached, slowed just slightly, evaluated the angle, and slipped through with seamless motion, avoiding detection by the enemy sensors placed to simulate real combat conditions. She had anticipated this trap moments before reaching it, calculating the timing and path needed to overcome it efficiently. Beyond the trap, a long corridor filled with obstacles awaited, stacked crates, low barriers, and uneven surfaces requiring constant adjustment of footing. Other soldiers staggered, tripped, or lost momentum. Maya maintained a steady, unwavering rhythm, each footfall precise, each movement calculated. She seemed to glide over the course, a combination of agility, strength, and foresight that rendered the challenges almost inconsequential. The murmurs among instructors and observers grew. Who is she? How is she doing that? As she cleared the corridor, she entered a wide open area scattered with hazards and simulated enemies. Other soldiers paused, trying to locate targets, hesitating under the pressure of simulated gunfire. Maya's eyes scanned rapidly, identifying threats and cover positions in fractions of a second. She neutralized each target with efficient precision, conserving ammunition and maintaining constant motion. Her mind worked faster than her hands. Anticipation guided her actions. Each obstacle became an opportunity, each challenge a demonstration of skill honed over years of preparation and experience. She moved next to a series of wall climbs, each taller and steeper than the last. Soldiers behind her struggled, some losing grip, others taking longer, uncoordinated approaches. Maya, however, attacked each wall with fluidity and confidence. Her movements were precise, energy conserved, momentum maintained. By the time she reached the final wall, officers watching began to murmur among themselves, astonished at the seamless efficiency of her performance. Even as she cleared the last of the physical obstacles, the final section, a complex urban village filled with simulated civilians, concealed threats, and timed challenges, awaited. Others approached with caution or hesitation. Maya's experience, discipline, and composure allowed her to calculate every action in advance. Each decision was deliberate, each movement optimized. While others struggled to react, Maya acted with foresight, precision, and unmatched skill. By the time she reached the first checkpoint, her performance had already begun to shatter expectations. Soldiers who had mocked her, whispered against her, or doubted her capabilities now trailed behind in disbelief. Observers stared at screens and live feeds, tracking her progress. Briggs, who had expected to see embarrassment and failure, clenched his jaw, his smirk fading. What he had anticipated as a public spectacle of humiliation had instead become a demonstration of near-perfect execution. Maya's first few minutes on the course had already transformed the narrative. Her calm, analytical, and efficient approach had turned mockery into astonishment. She wasn't just completing the drill, she was mastering it, demonstrating a level of skill few thought possible. Each movement, each decision, each moment of precision broadcasted a singular truth. Preparation, discipline, and focus could overcome doubt, mockery, and brute strength. As she pressed forward, the soldiers behind her struggled, fatigued, and frustrated. Many had relied on speed and force alone, failing to anticipate obstacles or adapt under pressure. Maya, however, moved through the course with a balance of intelligence and action, her every motion guided by years of experience and meticulous preparation. The whispers of doubt had vanished. In their place was awe, astonishment, and respect. The drill was far from over, but the first stage had already made one thing abundantly clear. Sergeant Maya was no ordinary soldier. She was a force of precision, calculation, and skill, a testament to preparation triumphing over arrogance. And as she approached the next series of challenges, her calm composure remained unshaken. Today, Fort Redwood would witness excellence in motion, unquestionable, unstoppable, and undeniable. The live-fire simulation village loomed ahead like a miniature urban battlefield, a labyrinth of narrow alleys, low-roofed buildings, and shadowed corners. The sun cast sharp angles across walls and debris, creating pockets of light and darkness that could either hide a threat or betray a soldier's position. Maya paused briefly at the entrance, her eyes sweeping the environment with methodical precision. She analyzed every doorway, every window, every stack of crates and debris. Others surged forward recklessly, boots slapping concrete, weapons rattling, voices raised in hurried communication. She noted each mistake, storing it mentally for future reference. The first building was a simple structure, but it held hidden challenges. Inside, a simulated civilian crouched behind a counter, a target lay behind a partially boarded wall, and a timed trap was set to trigger if the room was breached incorrectly. Maya's footfalls were silent, measured. She approached the door at a precise angle, eased it open, and moved inside like a shadow. Her weapon was ready but not flashy. Every movement was efficient, conserving energy and maintaining control. While other soldiers struggled to identify threats, Maya neutralized each one with calm precision. Her eyes darted from corner to corner, scanning for the smallest movements, the slightest hints of danger. When a trap triggered behind her, a simulated hazard designed to force panic, she adjusted instantly, maintaining momentum and avoiding any loss of time or control. Every decision was rapid, accurate, and deliberate. The chaos that disoriented others became her advantage. She moved through the building, sweeping each room with a systematic approach. Her training had taught her the importance of order under chaos, and she executed it flawlessly. Simulated civilians were secured, gently, targets neutralized efficiently, and every action followed a strategy designed to minimize error and maximize effectiveness. Observers watching through cameras whispered in disbelief. Some shook their heads, unable to comprehend how one soldier could navigate such a complex environment with ease while others faltered. Outside the first building, the course demanded a transition to open streets. Soldiers sprinted blindly, some tripping over debris, others slowed by poor route selection. Maya advanced methodically, her pace swift but controlled. Her mind calculated trajectory, cover positions, and potential hazards ahead. Every alley, crate, and wall was accounted for in her mental map. She moved like a ghost, navigating the streets with quiet precision while others struggled with the disorienting chaos. A second building approached, a taller structure with multiple entry points and hidden passageways. Others hesitated, unsure of which doors to enter, which routes to take. Maya paused only for a fraction of a second, then entered the side door closest to the primary target. Inside, she quickly identified threats, neutralized them efficiently, and secured the area without unnecessary noise or movement. She used minimal ammunition, precise movements, and careful positioning. Every action displayed an understanding of both strategy and psychology. She anticipated the enemy behavior before it occurred. In the narrow corridors, other soldiers began to falter. Missteps triggered traps, loud noises alerted enemies, and hesitation cost precious seconds. Maya, however, remained a model of calm efficiency. Her movements were deliberate yet swift, each step calculated, each breath controlled. While others relied on speed alone, she relied on foresight. Each decision was backed by knowledge, experience, and preparation. She advanced steadily, her progress seamless, almost unreal to those watching. The complexity of the simulation escalated as she moved into the third building. Here, multiple rooms required coordination, securing civilians, clearing hidden threats, and navigating booby traps. Many soldiers became disoriented, shouting to each other, rushing impulsively, or freezing entirely. Maya's focus was unshakable. She entered, cleared each room methodically, neutralized threats, and advanced without hesitation. Her mind tracked every movement, every potential hazard, every tactical advantage. By the time she exited the building, she was already plotting the path through the remaining streets and alleys. Observers could barely believe what they were seeing. Soldiers who had been considered top performers in past drills struggled behind her, tripping over obstacles, making tactical errors, or wasting ammunition. Maya's calm and precision contrasted sharply with the chaos around her. She had not only kept pace but outperformed the fastest, strongest, and most experienced competitors. The whispers among instructors and officers grew louder. "She's unstoppable. How is she doing that? We've never seen anything like this." The next segment of the village presented a new challenge. A long corridor with concealed traps, narrow openings, and limited visibility. Soldiers ahead stumbled, slowed, or panicked under the stress. Maya approached with her characteristic focus. Each step, each scan, each movement was intentional. She identified every trap in advance, adjusted her approach, and passed through without hesitation. She was neither rushed nor reckless. Her composure allowed her to make split-second decisions with precision that others could not match. The final stage of the live-fire village required simultaneous management of multiple threats, concealed targets, obstacles, and simulated civilians. The complexity tested every skill she possessed: decision-making, coordination, spatial awareness, and tactical execution. While others struggled to prioritize, to maintain focus, or to conserve energy, Maya executed flawlessly. Her actions flowed in perfect sequence. Threats neutralized, civilians secured, obstacles overcome. Observers whispered again, a mixture of astonishment and admiration. Even Briggs, watching intently from the platform, looked unsettled. His smirk had vanished. Maya's efficiency was more than physical skill, it was mental mastery. She anticipated errors before they occurred, adjusted instantly, and maintained control under constant pressure. Every movement, every shot, every decision reflected experience, preparation, and intelligence. While others reacted, she acted. While others hesitated, she advanced. While others struggled, she dominated. The final obstacle within the village was a simulated hostage scenario. Many soldiers panicked under the stress, making mistakes, rushing into traps, or miscalculating angles. Maya approached calmly. She assessed the situation, determined the safest and quickest approach, neutralized threats efficiently, and rescued the simulated civilians without error. Every action was precise, deliberate, and flawless. She emerged from the village ahead of every competitor, having completed a section of the course that had proven near impossible for most. As she paused briefly to regain her composure before the next challenge, observers exchanged shocked glances. Soldiers whispered to each other, "She's unreal. I can't believe it. We've been underestimating her the whole time." The reputation of Sergeant Maya was being rewritten in real time. She had not only completed the live-fire simulation with perfection, but she had done so while maintaining composure, conserving resources, and demonstrating tactical brilliance. Briggs clenched his fists, watching the live feed screens. The mockery he had planned, the public humiliation he had anticipated, had evaporated. Instead of failure, he witnessed mastery. Instead of embarrassment, he witnessed dominance. And though he would never admit it openly, he knew what everyone else was starting to realize. Sergeant Maya was no ordinary soldier. She was a force of precision, intelligence, and unwavering composure, a living demonstration of what preparation and skill could achieve under pressure. Maya pressed onward, fully aware that this drill was only part of the challenge. She had cleared the live-fire village, but the course continued, each obstacle designed to test endurance, strength, agility, and strategy. While others had struggled to finish this section, she had not only survived it, she had dominated it. Her reputation, once questioned and mocked, was now being cemented in real time as observers whispered her name with a mixture of awe and disbelief. She inhaled deeply, centering herself, letting her calm focus flow through every muscle and nerve. The next segment of the drill awaited, and she would meet it as she had met every previous challenge, with preparation, precision, and unshakable composure. Every second, every movement, every decision had brought her to this moment, and she would not falter. The final stretch of the Fort Redwood elite drill sprawled before Sergeant Maya like a gauntlet designed to punish even the most seasoned soldiers. A series of walls, rope swings, narrow balance beams, and simulated obstacles stretched across the course. Beyond them, the finish line awaited, a line that few ever crossed with distinction. Maya's heart remained steady, her muscles coiled and ready, her mind calculating every movement with the precision of a chess master, anticipating the opponent's moves. Other soldiers entered the stretch ahead of her, some exhausted, others frustrated. Many misjudged jumps, lost balance on beams, or stumbled over uneven terrain. Maya, however, moved fluidly, a study in controlled efficiency. Her body responded instinctively to each challenge, her mind predicting obstacles before they even became threats. Where others hesitated, she surged. Where others faltered, she advanced. Every movement was deliberate, every step calculated, every breath measured. The first wall loomed tall and unforgiving. Some soldiers attempted brute force climbs, slipping halfway up and tumbling back to the ground, bruised and defeated. Maya analyzed the wall in an instant, handholds, angles, leverage points. Her ascent was almost effortless, muscles coordinating with precision, momentum conserved, energy efficiently applied. She reached the top smoothly and dropped to the other side, ready for the next obstacle before anyone else had recovered from their missteps. Next came the rope swing sequence, a series of hanging ropes stretched over a pit filled with simulated hazards. Soldiers ahead struggled, miscalculating swings or missing grips entirely. Maya moved with rhythm and purpose. She timed each swing perfectly, adjusting momentum to land accurately and maintain her forward speed. While others lost precious seconds, Maya's efficiency allowed her to cover distance rapidly without wasted energy. She had turned a chaotic section into an opportunity for advantage, leaving spectators in awe. A narrow balance beam awaited, suspended over a pit of simulated rubble. Many approached cautiously, fear slowing them, anxiety affecting coordination. Maya stepped onto the beam with complete control. Each step was precise, calibrated to maintain balance and forward momentum. She crossed without hesitation, without faltering, and without breaking stride. Her performance was flawless. Observers began whispering among themselves, unable to believe the fluidity of her motion. Some of the veteran soldiers fell behind entirely, frustrated and astounded by her seemingly effortless dominance. The remaining course now required a combination of strength, agility, and tactical decision-making. A final building complex contained a variety of challenges, hidden doors, simulated enemy positions, and timing traps designed to overwhelm participants. Maya's prior experience in the live-fire village gave her a distinct advantage. She entered the complex with confidence, scanning rapidly for threats and optimal paths. Each room was cleared systematically. Simulated threats neutralized with precision. Civilians rescued without error. Observers' murmurs shifted from astonishment to outright admiration. She moved to the final exterior obstacles, walls, rope ladders, and uneven terrain designed to sap strength and test endurance. Soldiers ahead were visibly fatigued. Breaths came in ragged gasps, bodies shook with exhaustion and mistakes under pressure. Maya's composure remained unbroken. Her movements were efficient, conserving energy and maintaining speed. Each obstacle was executed with near perfection, a combination of strength, intelligence, and timing that left the competition far behind. Finally, she approached the finish line. The time displayed on digital monitors caused a stir among instructors and officers. Her pace had shattered previous records. The fastest competitors had been slow, clumsy, or uncertain. Maya crossed the line smoothly, almost serene, while the others struggled to recover their breath. The crowd watching, soldiers, instructors, and officers, erupted in whispers of astonishment. Some could hardly believe what they had seen. The mockery, skepticism, and doubt that had surrounded her arrival were replaced by awe and respect. Even Brigadier General Briggs, standing rigidly on the platform, was forced to confront the undeniable truth. The smirk that had been his signature for decades had vanished, replaced by a tight-lipped tension. He had expected failure, a spectacle of embarrassment. Instead, he had witnessed dominance, precision, and mastery. Maya had turned public mockery into undeniable triumph. His voice, when he finally spoke, was measured but edged with grudging acknowledgement. "This is unprecedented," he muttered, partly to himself and partly to the assembled soldiers. I underestimated Sergeant." His statement carried weight, the rare public recognition of her skill. Soldiers whispered among themselves, realizing that her performance wasn't just a fluke. It was a demonstration of training, intelligence, and unshakable composure. Some approached her quietly, seeking advice. Others simply stared, trying to reconcile the legend they had doubted with the reality before them. Maya's own sense of accomplishment was quiet, understated. She didn't need applause or approval. Every movement had spoken for her, every decision had demonstrated her capability. She had transformed the drill, the challenge, and the expectations into a showcase of precision and dominance. She had turned ridicule into respect and doubt into acknowledgement. And yet, she remained composed, already thinking about the next challenge, the next mission, the next opportunity to refine her skills. As soldiers recovered from the final stretch, instructors gathered their notes and reviewed performance statistics. Maya's metrics were off the charts. Speed, accuracy, efficiency, and decision-making all surpassed previous records. She had not only completed the course but had done so with near-perfect execution in every metric. Her name would go down in Fort Redwood history as a benchmark for future soldiers. Those who had doubted her, mocked her, or underestimated her would now witness her legacy unfold. The final moments of the drill were quiet in contrast to the chaos that had preceded them. Maya walked away from the finish line, boots striking the ground with steady rhythm, posture erect, eyes forward. The whispers among soldiers transformed into conversations about strategy, precision, and composure. She had demonstrated that excellence is not merely physical strength, but a combination of intellect, preparation, and mental fortitude. Every action on the course had conveyed a single truth. Skill, focus, and preparation are undeniable forces. The public acknowledgement of her achievement came later that afternoon. During a debriefing, Briggs addressed the formation. "Sergeant has set a new standard," he announced, voice measured but unmistakably respectful. "Her performance demonstrates what preparation, precision, and composure under pressure can achieve. Let this serve as an example to all of you." Soldiers murmured their agreement. Some clapped quietly, others stared in disbelief. Maya nodded briefly, a subtle acknowledgement of the recognition, but her mind was already moving forward, toward the next challenge, the next opportunity for growth. The day at Fort Redwood would be remembered for years. Maya had transformed expectations, shattered records, and silenced mockery. She had not only completed the drill, she had dominated it. Every observer, every competitor, every instructor had witnessed her unparalleled skill. She had proven that preparation, discipline, and unwavering focus are more powerful than skepticism, mockery, or raw physical strength alone. And though she carried herself with quiet humility, the legacy of her performance was undeniable. By the evening, word of Maya's achievement spread across the base and beyond. Junior soldiers sought her guidance, eager to understand her methods, her preparation, and her mindset. Even senior officers who had doubted her found themselves reconsidering assumptions about skill, leadership, and composure. Maya's performance had redefined what was possible in a high-stakes, elite military drill. As she returned to her quarters that night, Maya reflected quietly on the day's events. She hadn't sought recognition, applause, or approval. She had sought mastery, focus, and excellence. Every challenge, every obstacle, every skeptical glance had been an opportunity to demonstrate what preparation and precision could achieve. She knew that Brigadier General Briggs's mockery had been a catalyst, a test not just of skill, but of composure, mental fortitude, and determination. She had passed with distinction. Maya closed her eyes briefly, breathing deeply, muscles fatigued but mind alert. The day had proven one undeniable truth. Mockery could be transformed into fuel, Doubt could be transformed into action, and excellence could be undeniable, unshakable, and respected. She had set a new standard, not just for herself, but for everyone who would follow her on the course of Fort Redwood. The afternoon sun hung low over Fort Redwood, casting long shadows across the training grounds where the elite drill had just concluded. Sergeant Maya stood at ease near the finish line, her uniform dusted with sweat and grit, her boots scuffed but polished enough to reflect the meticulous discipline she embodied. Around her, soldiers, instructors, and officers moved with a mix of exhaustion and awe. Every whisper, every glance, every murmured conversation revolved around her performance. She had not only completed the drill but shattered every expectation, every record, and every doubt. Brigadier General Briggs approached, his usual smirk replaced by a tight-lipped expression, eyes narrowed with an intensity that bordered on disbelief. Soldiers parted instinctively as he strode forward, his steps measured, deliberate. The air seemed to thicken with tension, as though the entire base was holding its breath. Briggs had faced many challenges in his decades of command, but never had he encountered a soldier who executed a drill with such absolute mastery and composure under pressure. Sergeant, Briggs began, voice sharp yet controlled, carrying the authority of a man unaccustomed to being surprised. "You have exceeded expectations. That is a rare admission for me." He paused, clearly searching for words that would assert his authority without diminishing the magnitude of her performance. "I underestimated your capabilities. That was a mistake." Maya's expression remained calm, her eyes meeting his without flinching. She had anticipated this confrontation, though not its tone. Briggs was a man who thrived on intimidation, used mockery as a weapon, and wielded authority like a blade. Yet she stood unshaken, grounded in the certainty of her preparation, experience, and skill. "Sir," she replied evenly, her voice firm and measured, "my performance today reflects preparation, training, and discipline. I did not set out to exceed expectations. I set out to complete the mission efficiently and effectively." A murmur ran through the assembled soldiers. Many had expected Briggs to scold or belittle her, but instead, he seemed to be grappling with a new reality. Maya's calm assertion was a force in itself, quiet, undeniable, and commanding respect. Briggs's eyes flicked momentarily toward the assembled observers, officers, and junior soldiers. Whispers of admiration, astonishment, and disbelief carried through the air. Maya's reputation had transcended skepticism. She had become an example, a standard, and an unspoken benchmark for everyone present. Briggs inhaled deeply, regaining a measure of composure, though the tension in his jaw betrayed his internal struggle. "Sergeant," he continued, voice firmer now, "you have demonstrated not only superior physical skill but the application of intelligence and strategy under pressure, qualities I have long sought in elite soldiers." His gaze sharpened, studying her reaction closely. "Your performance challenges conventional expectations. I will not deny that. It demands acknowledgement and reassessment of your potential." Maya inclined her head subtly, recognizing the weight of his words without offering unnecessary self-congratulation. She had learned long ago that actions, not words, defined credibility. Yet this confrontation was more than personal vindication. It was a testament to every challenge she had faced, every sneer, every whisper of doubt, every underestimated capability that had fueled her drive. Her calm composure now served as her voice. "You have observed my performance," she replied evenly. "You have judged my abilities, and today you have seen the results of preparation, focus, and adaptability. There is no need for further discussion, except to note that these qualities are consistent, not situational. They are inherent in the way I approach every mission, every drill, and every challenge." Briggs's eyes narrowed, a mix of frustration and grudging respect flickering across his face. He had expected embarrassment, a spectacle of failure, a public example to reinforce his authority. Instead, he had witnessed flawless execution, strategic brilliance, and composure that none of his previous critiques could diminish. His silence stretched, a tense pause that carried weight across the field. The assembled soldiers shifted slightly, sensing the gravity of the exchange. Many felt a mixture of inspiration and disbelief. Junior soldiers who had arrived at the base with skepticism now regarded Maya with awe. Veterans who had previously doubted her methodology now their own assumptions. Even seasoned officers, trained to assess and critique without bias, found themselves impressed by the unyielding mastery she exhibited. Briggs finally spoke again, his voice slightly softer but no less authoritative. "Sergeant, it is clear you have elevated the standard of performance on this base. Your execution today will serve as a benchmark for future soldiers. You have my acknowledgement, however reluctant it may be, and the respect you have earned through action." Maya maintained her calm, her posture reflecting quiet confidence rather than arrogance. "Thank you, sir. I will continue to uphold these standards and assist others in reaching similar levels of efficiency and skill should that be required." Her words were simple, yet they conveyed leadership, humility, and authority. She was not only a master of the drill, she was a model of professionalism and composure under scrutiny. Briggs exhaled, a subtle concession to the undeniable truth before him. "Very well," he said, voice measured. "You have turned what I intended as a demonstration of humiliation into an exhibition of excellence. That is something I cannot ignore. Your record here will be documented, and your performance will inform the training of all soldiers in this unit going forward." Around them, soldiers watched, many now openly inspired. Conversations that had begun as whispers of doubt transformed into discussions of strategy, efficiency, and precision. Maya had done more than complete the drill, she had redefined it. She had shown that composure, preparation, and strategic thinking could triumph over brute strength, arrogance, and skepticism. Briggs's demeanor softened fractionally as he studied her. "Sergeant," he said finally, "let this serve as a lesson to all who doubt or mock. Skill is earned, not assumed. Composure is as valuable as strength. Preparation is more formidable than arrogance." His words, delivered in his characteristic commanding tone, carried weight for every soldier present. Maya's quiet mastery had become a teaching moment for the entire formation. Maya allowed herself a small, almost imperceptible nod. She understood the significance of this moment, not as personal triumph, but as validation of principles she had held for years. Preparation, discipline, and composure had carried her through countless challenges. Today, they had earned her public recognition and redefined expectations for everyone around her. As Briggs turned to address the assembled formation, Maya quietly stepped back, observing reactions. Soldiers who had mocked or doubted her now regarded her with respect and curiosity. Some approached her with questions about technique, preparation, and mindset. Others simply watched in awe, absorbing the demonstration of excellence she had provided. Every movement, every action, every word she had spoken reinforced the reality that skill, intelligence, and composure were forces that could not be undermined by mockery or underestimation. Briggs concluded the session with a final remark. "Let Sergeant's performance today serve as a reminder. True skill manifests under pressure, and excellence is recognized through action, not assertion. Remember that as you train and as you face challenges ahead." The weight of the statement, combined with the undeniable evidence of Maya's performance, resonated throughout the formation. As the crowd dispersed, whispers of admiration followed her. Junior soldiers now sought guidance, veterans their strategies, and instructors considered new training methodologies inspired by her flawless execution. Maya had not only dominated the drill, she had set a standard, created a benchmark, and demonstrated the true power of preparation, composure, and skill under pressure. Alone for a moment, she allowed herself to reflect on the day's events. Every challenge she had faced, mockery, doubt, underestimation, had prepared her for this confrontation. Every memory of past missions, every lesson learned, had been distilled into a performance that was now undeniable. She had turned every sneer, every whisper of doubt, and every mocking remark into fuel for excellence. Sergeant Maya walked away from the drill grounds with quiet dignity, her mind already considering future missions and training exercises. The confrontation with Brigadier General Briggs had been decisive. She had proven that skill, preparation, and composure could transform doubt into respect, mockery into acknowledgement, and challenges into triumph. Her legacy at Fort Redwood was now secure, one of excellence, mastery, and undeniable dominance. The sun had begun its slow descent over Fort Redwood, casting a golden glow across the training grounds. The echoes of the day's elite drill still lingered in the air, boots striking the ground, shouted commands, and the faint hum of whispered astonishment. Sergeant Maya stood quietly near the edge of the field, surveying the area with calm composure. Around her, soldiers had dispersed, some returning to barracks, others lingering to discuss the extraordinary events they had witnessed. Her presence commanded respect, though she wore it lightly, without arrogance, letting her actions speak louder than words ever could. Her mind wandered back to the morning, to the mockery of Brigadier General Briggs and the skepticism that had met her arrival. Each laugh, each whispered doubt, each skeptical glance had fueled a quiet determination within her. She had known that success was not only about physical prowess, but about preparation, composure, and mental acuity. Today, every ounce of training, every lesson learned, every experience of failure or triumph had been distilled into an unbroken chain of flawless execution. The drill, designed to test the elite, had inadvertently become a showcase of what one soldier could achieve through dedication and intelligence. Observers and instructors alike had watched in disbelief as she moved through walls, rope swings, balance beams, and simulated urban combat scenarios with a grace and precision that expectation. Where others faltered, she excelled. Where others panicked, she maintained control. And in the end, she had emerged not only victorious but exemplary. Word of her performance had spread quickly across the base. Junior soldiers sought her guidance, eager to understand how she had maintained composure under extreme pressure, how she had anticipated obstacles, and how she had combined strategy with flawless execution. Veterans who had once dismissed her potential now approached with questions, eager to learn from someone whose skill had redefined standards. Instructors took notes, considering adjustments to training programs that could incorporate her methods, her approach, and her mindset. Even Brigadier General Briggs, initially intent on humiliation, had been forced to acknowledge her mastery. His public concession, though measured, had transformed into a lesson for the entire formation. Skill cannot be mocked, intelligence cannot be underestimated, and composure under pressure cannot be ignored. Maya's performance had rewritten the expectations for soldiers at Fort Redwood. She had turned ridicule into respect and doubt into a blueprint for excellence. Maya's reflection on the day was quiet and inward. She did not seek recognition or accolades. Her satisfaction came from the mastery itself, from the knowledge that preparation and discipline had allowed her to perform flawlessly under observation, under scrutiny, and under extreme stress. Every motion, every decision, every obstacle had been met with precision. She had not only completed the course, she had elevated it. As evening settled, she walked through the now quiet grounds. The course, once chaotic with activity, lay silent, bathed in the warm light of sunset. Each wall, rope, and obstacle bore witness to her performance. Each mark in the dirt, each scuff on the equipment, each trace of sweat and effort told the story of a soldier who had refused to be underestimated. Her footsteps were steady, measured, a reflection of the discipline that had guided her throughout the day. Her legacy, however, extended beyond the course itself. It lived in the whispers of astonishment among her peers, the admiration of junior soldiers, and the grudging respect of commanders. It was in the way instructors now discussed training adjustments, inspired by the efficiency and composure she had demonstrated. It was in the subtle shift in culture at Fort Redwood, where skepticism gave way to acknowledgement, and doubt transformed into motivation. Maya understood the power of example. She knew that true leadership is shown through action, not words, and that the standards she set would influence every soldier who trained under or alongside her. Her calm mastery in the face of mockery and doubt had created a tangible benchmark. Soldiers would measure themselves against it, strive to emulate it, and in doing so, elevate the overall level of skill and preparedness within the unit. That night, as she prepared to rest, Maya allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. The day had been a culmination of preparation, focus, and unwavering commitment to excellence. The public mockery that had greeted her at sunrise had transformed into recognition, respect, and legacy by sunset. She understood that mastery was not a singular event but a continuous pursuit. Today had been a milestone, but tomorrow would bring new challenges, new obstacles, and new opportunities to refine her skills. Even as the base settled into nighttime routines, the story of her performance spread beyond Fort Redwood. Soldiers who had witnessed it shared the tale with comrades, instructors recounted it in debriefings, and Brigadier General Briggs, reluctantly inspired, cited it as an example in leadership meetings. Maya's name became synonymous with precision, composure, and excellence. Her actions had proven that true skill is measured not by the opinions of others, but by results achieved through preparation, intelligence, and steadfast focus. In her quiet quarters, Maya reflected on the lessons of the day. The mockery she had faced was a catalyst, not an obstacle. The pressure of scrutiny was not a hindrance but an opportunity to demonstrate mastery. Every challenge, every setback, every doubt that had been cast her way had been transformed into fuel for success. She had learned that excellence is not defined by ease or comfort, but by the ability to maintain focus and precision under conditions designed to test limits. Maya also understood the broader impact of her performance. By turning skepticism into acknowledgement, she had set a precedent for every soldier who would follow. She had shown that composure and preparation can overcome mockery, that intelligence and strategy can surpass brute strength, and that disciplined focus can create results that leave lasting impressions. Her performance had become more than a personal triumph. It had become a teaching moment, a legacy, and a standard for future generations. As she finally settled into her cot for the night, exhaustion began to creep in, but her mind remained alert, replaying sequences of movement, decision-making, and tactical execution. She understood that mastery is never complete, that there is always room to improve, refine, and grow. Yet for tonight, she allowed herself the quiet pride of accomplishment. She had faced mockery, scrutiny, and doubt, and had emerged not only unshaken but triumphant. In the days that followed, Maya's performance continued to resonate throughout Fort Redwood. Training programs were adjusted, drills were reevaluated, and soldiers approached challenges with a renewed focus on preparation and composure. Her legacy was not merely in the records she had broken or the obstacles she had overcome, but in the example she had set. That excellence is achieved through discipline, intelligence, and unwavering focus, and that true skill shines when tested under pressure. Sergeant Maya had transformed a day of potential humiliation into a defining moment of mastery. She had dominated the drill, commanded respect, and set a standard that would endure for years. The echoes of her footsteps, the efficiency of her movements, and the composure she displayed became a benchmark, a story told to inspire, instruct, and challenge every soldier who followed. And as the base slept, the quiet strength of her example settled over Fort Redwood like a shadow of excellence, a reminder that mockery can be transformed into motivation, doubt can be converted into triumph, and skill, when paired with preparation and composure, is an unstoppable force. Sergeant Maya had not only completed the drill, she had redefined it. She had not only earned respect, she had inspired it. And she had not only demonstrated skill, she had created a legacy.